Well, a loss is still a loss. Sports Talk Chicago. Here for Jon Zaghloul. In this video, we're going to break down the Bears-Lions game, explain why the Bears lost, and what it means for them moving forward. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, set up notifications so you don't miss a thing. Talk Chicago Bears daily. We also have interviews with former Bears players and Bears media members every week. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports, Facebook Jon Zaghloul. If you want to watch more of this show, head on over to sportstalkchicago.com. I want to start today with this. That was pathetic for the Bears on Sunday. I'm not happy. And there's really no way to justify what happened. Now, you could say Justin Fields improved, which he did. You could argue that the Bears are tanking, so this is good. In my vocabulary, this is not good. Tanking against a good team like Minnesota, Green Bay, the Jets, the Giants, that'd be okay. But you can't be losing, or I should say blowing, a 14-point lead to the Detroit frickin' Lions. So there is no tanking talk here. There's no, well, it's okay. No, this is not okay. When you are brought in, as Matt Eberflus was, Brian Poles was, to build a culture of winning, of execution, of being a better team than the last regime, this won't cut it. I direct your attention to last year. Thanksgiving, Matt Nagy, the report came out that he was going to be fired on Thanksgiving. Report came out, and the Bears, oh yeah, still won with Andy Dalton starting. They beat the Lions by field goal. Now, I know both teams are different a little bit this year, but still, the fact is, the Bears always beat Detroit. Always. No matter who the quarterback is, no matter what the situation is in Chicago, the Bears win. And yesterday, they lost. They blew a 14-point lead. They were undisciplined, penalty-wise. They let Jared Goff have a big game. These are things that cannot be justified or defended. So as much as you want to play revisionist history and say, well, this is about tanking, no, it's not about tanking. The Bears have to win the games they're supposed to win. And let's put tanking off to the side for a minute. I'm not in the business of losing. I don't care about draft picks and draft positioning. I care about beating the teams you're supposed to beat, even when you're trying to rebuild. The Cubs still won 72 games this year. They beat teams they weren't supposed to beat, and teams they were supposed to beat. They did both. They were tanking, they were trying to lose, and they still played up to their competition. They were still a scrappy team with fight. This is inexcusable from the Bears. You were up by 14 points. You were dominating the entire game. You did dominate the entire game according to a lot of different metrics. Bears had more total yards. Bears had more rushing yards. Bears had more yards per play. Bears had a better third down efficiency. Bears had less punts. The Bears dominated this game. How did they lose? Why is it okay to some to say the Bears did lose and this is okay for tanking? I want to make myself clear here. Tanking, quote unquote, does not justify a loss of this proportion. 14-point lead, you blow it. You're facing Detroit, you blow it. Okay, this is not tanking. Matt Eberflus and Brian Poles were brought in to build a culture of winning and execution. This is not winning, and they didn't execute. They blew the game. You can't build a culture losing games like this. I don't care if you're even rebuilding. You still have to build a culture. The Bears are not building a culture with a loss like this. That's the problem with this game. You want to be tanking? That's fine. Then tank against teams that you're supposed to lose to. But in a game in which you were winning by 14, that's not okay. There's no reason to justify that sort of performance. The Bears were too undisciplined defensively. They had way too many penalties that really threw the game out of focus. Too many guys getting in trouble. And they let the Lions just continue to linger and linger and linger until eventually they came back and won. Jared Goff, 19 of 26, 236 yards and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown was open all game long. He had 10 catches. These are the reasons why the Bears lost. And offensively for them, they had a good game. Justin Fields did good. Besides the pick six, which played a big role in the loss. Cole Kmet stood out. Big game for him. But see, these things are overshadowed to me by the end result. Just not happy with how this ended. And what really actually scares me is the amount of Bears fans who are saying, well, it's okay for tanking, or it's okay for a different reason. I know this team isn't great. I know there's lots of work to do. I know they won't be a Super Bowl contender this season. But you cannot accept mediocrity. You cannot accept and be okay with a 14-point blown lead against Detroit just because Justin Fields did well, or just because this player did well, or that guy did well, or it's tanking. We have to hold this team accountable. And what happened, especially in that fourth quarter, was not good. The Bears barely scored in the fourth quarter. They did nothing. The Lions scored 21 points on the Bears all in the fourth quarter. The Bears scored 6. They lost. I don't think that's something we should be celebrating. I was very disappointed in how it ended. The Bears always beat Detroit. Don't you see this? Come on, you got to feel this in your heart, right? The Bears always beat Detroit. We can always say those 2 games per year, the Bears face them, those are wins. But now we can't say that. That's a big question mark. Now we can't say the Bears swept Detroit again. This is with the rookie head coach, rookie GM, and a team that's trying to get back on their feet next year. You gotta build a culture of winning. Gotta build a culture of execution. This did not show either of those two things. This was a black spot, a dark spot for the Bears this year. A 14-point blown lead. We have to remember that 14 points the Bears were up. They were dominating. They were cruising. This was supposed to be a Bears win. They blew it. That's where the problem is. Cameron Santos missing an extra point. We got other players just not contributing. We got way too many penalties. What's going on with this team? Matt Eberflus was brought in to abide by the hits principle. One of those includes discipline. He's all about discipline and accountability. Well, there was none of that yesterday. Tons of penalties. More and more and more. Gave the Lions over 100 yards in penalty yards alone. Got a pick six from Justin Fields, which was, in my opinion, one of the worst throws he's ever made this season. And he had a great game, but that was really bad. This was just an unacceptable loss. Don't accept this. Don't say it's okay. Don't justify it in any which way. It was wrong. It shouldn't have happened. It was a loss. It was bad. Not good. For those of you excited about a draft pick and excited about next year, that's great. But just remember, you're trying to build a culture. Culture of winning, culture of excellence, a different culture than last year's team. This is oddly reminiscent of last year's team. I'm just saying. This is not the Bears that I know, the Bears that we should know by now. This is not something that we'd be accepting. Remember the beginning of the year, we were all over Eberflus and polls and said that this was wrong. They got to get better. They got to be more strong in their execution. They got to win games. What happened to that fire and that passion? I know we're blinded by Justin Fields, and he did good, but we got to remember that this is going to be a team sport, and that Justin Fields doing well doesn't mean anything at some points if he doesn't win. Next year, if Justin Fields does exactly what he does now, but the Bears go 6-11, how happy are you going to be? Exactly. The Bears have to win, and they have to back up their QB a bit, and their QB has to be very good. Fields did good despite that pick six. That's the only critique I have of him. Other than that, great game for him. The Bears' run game was there. Khalil Herbert had a good game again. David Montgomery contributed a bit. Cole Kmet had a career game, which was nice to see. Hopefully that continues. There were positives. Jack Sanborn defensively did great. I mean, I was shocked by his output. 9 tackles, 2 sacks. There were bright spots. There were good things we could talk about. But when you blow a 14-point lead against Detroit, whether you're rebuilding or not, whether you're tanking or not, that is going to be the storyline. people. And that's what happened. You have to ask yourself, what do you value more? Do you value the Bears tanking and getting the third overall pick, or do you value a culture, a team that's willing to develop and get better, a team that could be good by 2023, but they need direction? This loss doesn't help out the team culture-wise. It may help them out in regards to draft positioning, but culture-wise, it doesn't. Ego-wise, it doesn't. Confidence-wise, it doesn't. Execution-wise, it doesn't. That's my problem. That's why I'm pissed. That's why they should have won this game, and they were winning on top of it. Like the Commanders game, the Bears were expected and should have won. That's why it's sad. That's why it's not good. That's why I'm pissed. And I warned you about this, so if you're stunned or surprised, go back and watch my preview video or the live stream. The Bears had to win this game. We're talking about a team that's trying to rebuild, trying to establish who they are for next year, and this hurts them. This makes them look horrible. Justin Fields developing is key. I know. Justin Fields had another good game. I get it. I loved that 67-yard touchdown run. That was amazing. You saw my call of it. It was awesome. I was happy. It was great to see. Encouraging and exciting and thrilling. But the Bears lost this game. You have to evaluate what's more important to you, culture or tanking. To me, it's culture. I'm a culture guy. They brought in Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles to build a winning culture for this team, something different than Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. Blowing a 14-point lead to Detroit, losing like they did, even though they're rebuilding or tanking, that's not a good thing for culture. We're trying to build a winning culture, a culture of execution, a culture of discipline, and the penalties were off the charts. The Bears did everything that was anti-Matt Eberflus, anti-Ryan Poles yesterday. So we could sit here and talk about how great Justin Fields played. We could talk about that. They're tanking for draft position. That's nice. But I'd rather look at the culture and what happened in the game. They blew a 14-point lead. Unacceptable. Wrong. And the way they played went against everything Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles have preached. That's the part that's scary, and that's the part that ticks me off. See, there's a hierarchy of priorities here. Number one, of course, is Justin Fields to develop. And he certainly did. But I would say that 1A, maybe one just above that, is you got to win the games you're supposed to win. Even if you want to tank, per se, you still got to win the games you're supposed to win. We know this Bears team isn't going to be great. We knew that from the beginning, but you can't be losing like this against Detroit. I'm not okay with this loss. I'm not happy about it. You could look for positives within it, but this is not something we should be celebrating or touting. It's wrong. It's not good. This is not pretty at all. The Bears really got to recover from this because it could affect their culture. It could affect their team. I'm just not happy with how this played out. You had a 14-point lead. You were facing off against one of the worst teams always in football. This is unacceptable. This performance was unacceptable. Plain and simple. So if you're on the tanking train and you're happy about a loss like this, that's great. I will never be happy about this. I'm never going to defend that. Even if the Bears are tanking or trying to tank, I won't defend it. You brought in people to build a culture. You brought in winners to win, right? The goal was to develop this team into a winning football franchise. This, no matter what the team situation is, this is not going to help this team win games, learn how to win, learn how to execute for next year. No, it's not. Keep that in mind as this season moves forward. The Bears got Atlanta this week, and I'll tell you what, I'm not expecting a win. And that's sad. That is sad. The Bears should win that game. There's no reason why they shouldn't. Atlanta sucks. Marcus Mariota's the frickin' starting quarterback, and yet I'm picking the Bears to lose. You know why? Because they lost to the frickin' Lions. See? There are unintended or bad consequences that come with tanking or being happy about a loss, including that. Oh, but the Bears lost. They're going to have the 5th draft pick now. I don't care. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Come on. How old are we? Really? You lost to the Lions. You blew a 14-point lead. If anybody's trying to turn this into a positive story, you're crazy. And if anybody does, then they're trying to feed you Kool-Aid that you don't need. The truth is, the Bears lost after giving up a 14-point lead. They lost to Detroit. They always beat the Lions historically. This is bad. This is not good. They got to really rethink and improve come next week. I hope they do. Because if not, maybe they'll tank. Maybe they'll get a good draft pick, but what are the unintended consequences? Well, the fact is this Bears team won't learn how to win. So come next year when they lose more games, when they lose games they should win, everyone's going to be complaining. And I'll point everybody back to this game, or games like this, like the Commanders game. If you train a team to accept mediocrity or accept losing, even as a part of tanking, when they need to win, they're going to have trouble winning. When you set the bar way too low, you're going to get lower expectations, even on the high end, when you're trying to see them win. The bar has to be set accordingly. And it feels like people are moving the bar each and every week based on Justin Fields' performance. And while you could do that, you still can't tell me this was okay. You can't tell me blowing a 14-point lead against Detroit is okay. Stop moving the bar to your liking. Stop moving it based on what the media says. Move it based on your realistic expectations for this team. The fact is, the Bears should have won. The fact that they didn't win hurts their culture. Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles were brought in to win. They lost to a division rival, blowing a 14-point lead. How does that sound? Let's write that on the front page of the newspaper today instead of, oh, well, they developed or they're tanking, so it's okay. No! None of this is okay. None of this is acceptable or justifiable. This was bad. This was wrong, and the Bears better learn from it come next week. Thanks for watching today's show. Really appreciate the time. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports, Facebook, Jon Zaghloul. Want to watch more of this show? Head on over to sportstalkchicago.com. So long, everyone.